Hey, friends, welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Friends of the Squared Circle. I'm your host, Crander Q, a.k.a. my real name, the number one beard in all of pro wrestling podcasting. That's right, it's self-proclaimed, so no one can take it away from me. We want to give a huge shout-out to Dean for joining us today, but we also want to shout our Patreon subscribers of Brian, Nick, Bobby, Mike, CZ the Wizard, the only beard that I bow down to, Joe, the other Mike, Allie, and my wife, Amy, and Justin. And don't forget to check out our sister channels as well, Wrestling with Pride, The Main Event with Meg Lavelle, of course, Friends of the Sports Circle, that's us, and Bell to Bell with Amanda Monroe. All season 2's rolling out here. Dean, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling fantastic, and I'm very excited to join you on this fine program.
And he's excited to hang out with the number one beard in all of pro wrestling podcasting. That's such an honor for most folks. And now he'll get to tell all of his friends all about our podcast. But we're not going to talk about me and my beard. We're going to talk about Dean here. What's your first earliest wrestling memory that you can come up with?
The first earliest memory. Oh, gosh. I remember there's a company that is no longer operating, but they gave me my first on-screen appearance, June 2023. Yeah, I got to ring announce for the first time, and that led to a little backstage correspondent role until I started training, and the rest is history. But you'll never forget your first time in front of a crowd.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Mine was my family because they think I'm funny. I got the face that runs the place here. But as you're getting into pro wrestling as a kid, who stood out to you?
Oh, I always give credit to these two, Rowdy Roddy Piper and The Miz. But if I'm really going to put some more thought into it, to throw in one that I don't really ever is Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is fantastic.
3 solid choices. Yeah.
In every aspect. I mean, he's hilarious when he needs to be, and he can switch to be as serious as he needs to in that situation. And there's very few that can do it better, especially with the legitimate acumen that he has in combat sports.
Yeah, I can't argue any of those choices. I think they are great. I'm a huge Miz guy. He is on my list of people to meet. Coming from reality TV into, sports entertainment or wrestling, however you want to call it, just shows that he had the passion and the drive to succeed. And he's probably, besides Orton and Rey Mysterio, one of the guys that has been there the longest.
You're saying, there's no substitute for longevity and experience. And it just goes to show that he's only had one injury in his entire career. I mean, I love to boast the phrase, work smarter, not harder. But if there's one person that seems to get it on the level of the most, it is The Miz.
Yeah, and a lot of people give him respect, but I also feel like there's not enough respect. Granted, he's had 2 title reigns. He's beat John Cena at WrestleMania. He did take the briefcase from our boy Otis. I know you're new to the channel here, Dean. I live in Superior, Wisconsin, where Otis is from, so he's a big deal to me. But 2-time champion, multiple accolades through his wrestling career that anybody would strive to have. But how old were you when you started, falling in love with wrestling?
It was 2000. I was 5. I was 5. I remember the feud that got me into it. It was Jeff Hardy and CM Punk feuding at the time. Feud with the ladder match, SummerSlam, all that. Jeff Hardy left. So that really captivated me, and it's kind of just took off from there.
Very nice, very nice. Now, I'm not a big Punk guy because of his outside persona, but he seems to have a great following. I would love to meet him to change my mind. But what was it about that first moment that sucked you in? Was it, Jeff Hardy's acrobatic? Was it CM Punk's, mic skills besides his wrestling skills that really sucked you in there?
There's such distinct personalities, the complete opposites, but just one difference away from being much closer than either of them could really admit. All it took was just the way they spent their free time, and a nicer way to put it. And, that's something that everyone can relate to in one way or another. And you see a guy with the hair and the flips and the beard and all that, and it's just, a guy like CM Punk is just entrancing on the microphone. And it's just that combination. How could you not at least sit down and watch for a minute?
Yeah, I won't take anything away from his athletic ability or his career because it is outstanding. I just, when we break down the wall, and remove that curtain, I just never got his personality. But again, I would love to meet him so he could change my mind. But Jeff Hardy, CM Punk, are a lot of the choices that people, or not choices, I would say, their fandom that comes up on this podcast because they are two of the greats, and their career is winding down. And it just makes me feel old that, you get to watch them when you're in your 20s, and next thing you know, you're 40 starting a podcast and you're like, damn, these boys are still going, So, but is there any other favorites that stuck out in those early days that resonated with you?
Not necessarily early days, but once he came around, Bray
Mhm.
Wyatt was probably
Okay.
my absolute favorite. And I'm
Mhm.
not much of a horror movie guy or
Mhm.
that, all that. It was a cover my face type of thing, But there's something about Bray Wyatt. It's just the art
Yep.
and all of it, and it almost feels like someone like him would be better served in any other form of entertainment that isn't
Yep.
pro wrestling.
Hmm.
But it's just, there's something about it. He's very underrated in the ring as well. It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
a lot of the time, character-based wrestlers will get the short end of the straw because
Hmm.
because they're not busting out all their moves all the time when they don't need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And
And I,
one of those
yeah.
guys.
Yeah, and a lot of people think, I like to throw this out there, that I was a Bray Wyatt family fan, that I grew my beard out because of the Wyatts. It was actually because of Daniel Bryan that I grew it out, because I just love his ability to have that contrasting style of submission, high risk moves, and then that mat wrestling. And that's why I love Kurt
Right.
Angle, too, because he can turn it on, like you said. He can go from comedy to serious, and when people ask me who's the greatest wrestler of all time, I lean towards more Kurt Angle because of that wrestling ability. Now, if I had to say entertainment wrestling, I would go like a Flair or HBK, but all around athlete. I mean, Kurt, he runs circles around those boys, and he caught on so quick,
Yeah.
and just, yeah. And if he didn't have his free time interfere with his wrestling career, I mean, he could have been, the even bigger poster boy for WWE instead of leaving for TNA, because I believe that's why he left, is because he was dealing with those demons, and Vince was just like, hey man, we got to help you get clean. And he decided to go to TNA because he didn't think I had a problem at the time, So
Right. Yeah, it's just unfortunately a lot of the time those lines get blurred and
oh
crossed,
yeah,
and
yeah.
leads into the other.
Now, as you're getting older, did you ever lose your wrestling fandom, or have you just been consistent since you were about 5 years old?
I mean, I'm sure like there's times where it was less on the mind, but
Hmm.
I've always loved it. And in the end, it's always really what I wanted to do. Like there were times, I played sports growing up, so like
Yeah.
if it was during the season, of course my main focus would be on the court or the field or wherever my attention was needed.
Hmm.
But it's at the end of the day, it was all to serve the purpose of living the dream one day.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I lost it just because I got into like, football, video games,
Right.
and, not saying my dad like pressured me, but wanted me to play football, signed me up for wrestling, baseball. So those like things kind of took over because that's where I was most of the time. So like 90s, 2000 era, sports were my go-to. And it just seemed like back then it was kind of like, oh, you watch wrestling, but yet the NWO shirts, the Stone Cold shirts, and the DX shirts were everywhere. And then
Right.
The Rock becoming this mega movie star. So it kind of helped your fandom back then. But how did you first discover wrestling? I forgot to ask you that. Was it on TV when you saw Punk and Hardy, or was it like through video games and stuff? Sorry.
Oh
Kind of
wow.
circling back there a little bit.
That's a good question. I don't know
Okay.
actually. I can't. I don't think I can give you a ironclad answer on that.
Okay, mine was
Um,
Sega, so that's how I discovered it. So
the games definitely got me more familiarized with
okay,
the roster, but I believe that it was probably on TV at some point, and I saw it like that, or I heard about it at school. Probably one of the
okay,
two.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I always like kind of finding out because, the younger generation has it so easy because of streaming, YouTube clips, everywhere, and wrestling is at the forefront right now. Is there anybody that you like gravitate towards now, besides The Miz? Is there like a Swerve Strickland that really stands out? Or, like Jordan Grace, who's killing it coming through the ranks of multiple promotions?
I love. I guess she's technically retired now, but AJ Styles, my entire life, from
Okay.
the time I saw him when he came to WWE, I was first introduced because really, for the most part, I wasn't aware of the independence for
Okay.
most of my upbringing. Really, I kind of discovered what that was in around like late middle school when
Okay.
like I really decided like this is what I'm gonna do. Like I'm
Mhm.
going to be a wrestler. And I put the time in, I figured out schools around me, and that's when I learned of the IWCs, the MCWs, the
Mhm.
Beyonds, the major places everybody wants to go to. But yeah, now AD Styles, Finn Balor, of course. MJF is great, of
Mhm.
course. Like a guy who's really gets his in-ring work will get overlooked because he is so good on the microphone, like a
Yeah.
Roddy Piper or a Miz. And so the guys that really are story driven are really the ones that I tend to gravitate to. During their brief time period, I was a huge vaudevillains guy when they were in NXT.
Oh
I
yeah,
I,
yeah. I
I
forgot about
love
those
the
guys.
time
Yeah.
period gimmicks when
Yeah.
it's like, and I'm a big technical wrestling guy. I'm a
Mhm.
big fan of the mix of the brawling and the technical, the circus style
Mhm.
arm wrestlers that Simon Goss did, all that, and I loved it. Like everything about it, I was a huge fan of, and I wish gimmicks like that were more well received, I guess,
Mhm.
by a wider audience.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. I love the technical wrestling, the brawling. Like I love a slow pace match, and then next thing you know, it just fires on all cylinders, and then you're like trying to keep up because you've been just like waiting for those moves to happen, and then it starts happening, and you're like, okay, where are we going? Where are we going? Oh, like I love the slow build up to the fast finish because it just gets me excited. Like I'm just anticipating the big moves all the time, but it's like they tease you with a carrot dangling in front of you. You mentioned guys like the Vaudevillains. Have you been able to use any of their geez, I'm losing my train of thought here. I got so excited. Any of their mannerisms or move sets into your career?
I'm sure there's certain like ways to do a wrist lock or a takedown
Hmm.
or some type of things that I've seen from them because Simon Gotch or Aiden English are so well technically trained. But I like to feel like the most is one of one. Now, of
Okay.
course, we all have our internal influences, but I
Hmm.
feel more of mine come from media outside of wrestling.
Okay.
I really take from that, so I could be different and be make people feel something that maybe they're not going to feel watching a different match on the card.
Hmm. What are some of the like the scene around you like? Is it more of like we said, the technical wrestling, or do you? I mean, in Minneapolis, we have a megatude of wrestling promotions. We've got Lucha promotion. We've got uh, trying to think, more like an old school, like they would bring in all the 80s and 90s guys and have that old style wrestling. And then we have First Wrestling, who brings in everybody, with inclusiveness and, having the members of the LGBT community who don't get spotlighted in other promotions. Not saying
Right.
that they don't, it's just they focus more on elevating that talent because they are new to the scene and coming through the ranks of the indies. So like the indie darlings, I would say, come through there more. That's not a slam, but like, what's the promotions like around you?
Me, actually, where I live, you have to drive an hour any direction to find any wrestling.
Oh, okay,
I firmly believe I am the only independent wrestler where I live.
okay,
I know of one that has moved from a long time ago. I
uh-huh.
actually had my first match against him. His name's
Okay,
JJ Grizzly, former power lifter. He had a sandwich named after him in my hometown. super
Oh,
cool. But yeah,
I'd try for that right there. That's a goal.
yeah, isn't it? Yeah, I would love to have a food item named after me.
Yeah.
I feel like my nickname leads perfectly to it. Any
Yeah.
restaurants listening, there you go. It's
Yeah.
written right
And if you
there.
don't do that, I'm sorry, you're not going to get this awesome guy in your establishment eating his sandwich because,
Exactly.
you know,
It's a win-win for everybody. I get a sandwich, you get a promotion. There you
that's
go.
right. That's right. He'll kiss
But
babies and sign autographs. You know what I mean?
my home promotion is about an hour away from me. It's the Elite
Okay.
Pro Wrestling Alliance, Kaiser, West Virginia, and I drive out there at least once a week for shows,
Okay.
stuff like that. So those miles start to add up, and then you got to go an hour and a half any other direction. But in like the Martinsburg, Hagerstown area, there's a huge hotbed down here. There's promotions like the WDWA, where I'm frequent with. The House of Pain is somewhere I'm also very well connected with.
Okay.
Summit Wrestling Association in Greencastle. They have a working relationship with House of Pain. Then you have newer places like Voltage and all. Like it's just there's a very healthy scene in
Very
the area.
nice.
I feel like it's only growing because it seems like a place for talent from different areas around there. Like say more in the DMV, the Northern PA, New Jersey, Virginia, North Carolina type guys. They all come up here, and it's
Okay.
nice. Because it may be the only place like someone would be able to wrestle somebody from there, say, because they live so far away. But that just happens to be, somewhere they can
Yeah.
meet.
Yeah. And I like the territory days, because you have the different promotions with their own set of rosters, and then they would switch out here and there, which that's what I'm kind of loving with AEW and WWE is people will knock these wrestlers for switching sides, but we have to remember that this wasn't always there. It was just WWE being the mega train, and now it's nice to see Bobby Lashley come back, get his, championship there, multiple championships there, and then he's just like, all right, we're going to AEW, and now he's doing something over there that's going to, help bring eyes to another promotion. You know what I mean? So it just reminds me of the old territory days that guys can go and gals can go anywhere nowadays.
It's nice, and like the world of independent wrestling and everything growing as a whole is really great for everybody. It really gives people chances to prove like what level they're at, really, because there are levels to independent wrestling, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to be able to tell where you are. You know what I mean? And it's just nice to grow at your own pace and see the places you go to, set your own personal goals. Because now it's a time period where people can have their own personal goals.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, when it was much more limited, the dream was the same for most people.
Yeah.
Now like you don't have to go to a major company or be on TV all the time.
Right there. You said it. You said exactly what I was going to say. You don't not have to be on one of those premier stages because you can. Matt Cardona, obviously, he had the following, but he was out there, making a name for himself, visiting everywhere and everywhere.
People forget Cody Rhodes. Like if he didn't do that, the indie scene now just wouldn't exist. Like the landscape of wrestling would not be the same without him. So to go back to that one question, if there is one, I would say Cody Rhodes. I've always been a very big fan of his.
Okay. I love the Rhodes family. I got Dusty and Dustin tattooed on me here. Now you mentioned you travel a lot, so I got to ask, like, what are some of the snacks you get? I know it's such a weird question, but like, I just like to see how you guys handle, because I do travel a lot for wrestling, and my wife's family does live 2 hours away, sometimes 3, and we just eat gas station food because we're just very basic. But what do you do like on the road? What's your snack routine? Like, how do you prep for that?
I make food that I think will taste good cold. Essentially.
Okay, that's smart. Yeah.
Chicken and rice, I can eat it cold. I can eat it warm. It doesn't matter. So that's just something you can eat in the car, and it's filling. Big granola bar guy.
Okay.
Something quick, accessible. An apple never hurts.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's something filling that you don't have to warm up. Essentially, I like to have a meal. A sandwich to pack never hurts. But if I have to stop somewhere, a lot of Sheetz hot dogs for this guy because it's.
Oh, I love hot dogs. I love hot dogs. I mean, it sounds weird, but Yeah, I know it's a weird question to ask, but like when you do travel a lot, like, you're very limited. And, listening to Stone Cold talk about how you just eat a potato in between towns or a can of tuna if he had enough money. And it just makes wrestlers today probably feel a little bit more grateful that there's a gas station every 4 miles, unless you live in North Dakota. Sorry, North Dakota. But but I just could not imagine eating potato in between towns, or a couple of them before you go to bed every night. I'd probably die. But yeah, on those travel trips, do you usually a couple guys get in the car with you, or is it just you?
Preferably, it's always nice to be able to
Yeah.
get guys together, because really
Hmm.
the ride and the experience itself
Yeah.
doing that oftentimes is the best part.
Yeah.
Because you never really know how a show is gonna go, especially
Right.
if it's a place you've never been before, and no matter what, you're gonna get a good story out of it.
Hmm.
So it is always nice to travel with friends or other wrestlers on the card. But if for some reason scheduling doesn't work out or something, I always bring my fiance if I can, because that's another different experience
Hmm.
and memory with somebody else you care about. So I mean, long story short, I don't like to travel alone if possible.
I totally agree. I just had to do that recently. Take my wife to training, 3 hours away, 3 hours there, 3 hours back. It's almost a 7 hour day. Just travel, and it's boring. I do not like driving the 6 minutes to work, so I feel you there. Um, how's that experience with her? With your career, what is her take on it? If you know, does she just absolutely love wrestling? Is it just something that she supports because it's you? How does that dynamic work for your relationship?
I mean, so when we met, I was kind of already into the thick of it.
Okay.
I met her about a year ago,
Okay.
and she was very like welcomed it with open arms. She
Nice.
wasn't the biggest fan, but
Mhm.
she liked it, like the
Okay.
concept of it, and she was open to getting more into it.
That's
And
awesome.
over the time that we've spent together, it's definitely growing on her. She
Okay.
pays attention to shows. She'll comment on things before I even bring it up. So stuff like that is nice. And
Yeah. Yeah.
the more she learns, the more feedback I can get.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Maybe sometimes she'll tell me something from a perspective you can't get from somebody else.
Then and I can kind of relate to that a little bit, is it because like my wife, she likes it, like the one promotion I mentioned, First Wrestling. She likes to go because then she can have a couple drinks. They have the character drivens, like we have Atomic Super Thunder Frog, Dan the Dad, War Horse. So we get like those fun little gimmicks, like you had mentioned. So she kind of likes that, and then it has music, burlesque, and stuff like that in between matches. So it's more of a show for her. But like you said, now that the more she knows, my wife will be critiquing me on the podcast and be like, you should do this, open yourself up. You're so straight faced. So that's why I try to be a little bit more, comical with it. Because, I like to think I'm funny, but I just try to be serious on the podcast. And she told me that I'm too stiff. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, if there's anybody who's gonna tell you the feedback you don't want to
Yeah.
hear, significant other, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, and I like constructive criticism, and I feel like it does help the growth. It is a little painstaking when she calls me out for things that I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't
Rip
notice
the
that.
bandage off.
But she does it from a place of love, and like when we were dating, she bought suckers and stuff for my vendor table, and I was like, right there's a girl that's going to support me, even though she's just buying suckers right now.
You got
Shows
ideas.
that she's going to support this project. We've been married 3 years now, and I'm not allowed to talk about the podcast outside of the household because she hears it everywhere. But I know she supports the craft because, like I said, buying those suckers that one time and telling me that
Buying
the
those
ones that I
suckers that
bought
one
sucked,
time. There
pun
you go.
intended. Like, because I would get Dum Dums because I loved Dum Dums as a kid. But she made me buy the Tootsie Pops and the Blow Pops because no kid wants a Dum Dum. I was like, all right. I mean, all right. But I love them. And you can't get what you want. You need to have chocolate on the table. Okay. I get it. So, yeah.
Sometimes what we want isn't what's gonna sell, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I was just giving shit away for free, but like I wanted a snack and I'm not going to eat a bunch of chocolate, but I'll eat a Dum Dum, 10 of them at the table. But like, but
I
yeah.
can't say I blame you.
Yeah. So, but back to wrestling here. How did you kind of come up with the persona that you run with now? We'll kind of briefly touch into the wrestling stuff there.
Ooh. How the Mosty Mosley, it was a collective effort put with creative my home promotion, and
Okay.
I've always loved the aesthetic of the 1950s.
Mhm.
I sound like this, so they felt that it was only natural.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I just took a little bit of a play on my name, and because the most was just a nickname that fit me, because
Hmm.
then every way of the word, I am the most, is the
Yeah.
most simple way to put it.
And I love the 1950s. That's one of my favorite time periods. The cars, the style. I mean, I've been seeing you slicking back the hair, and I'm just getting kind of jealous. I've
Gotta
always
make sure it
wanted a
looks good.
leather jacket, but I could never pull it off. So,
If you
uh,
have the best beard, I gotta have the best hair. It
that's
gotta
right.
keep
That's
the
right. You
talent
hear that,
out.
folks? The beard and the hair combo. I love it. Now, when you're getting, they say like you dial yourself up to 11. How does that resonate kind of with, home life? Are you kind of the most when you're there, or you just kind of pack it away till you're
The most is the most at all times.
perfect?
I mean, what you see is what you get with Dean Mosley, and
Yeah.
I cannot live a lie. Like, this
Yeah.
is who I am. I carry myself with the same bravado in and out of the ring
Mhm.
as one should to get through such a tough life.
Right.
And
Right.
there's a cool world out there, and it will be. And it's gonna puff its chest out of you, so puff it back.
Perfect. I love that quote. Hopefully, you're gonna put that on a T-shirt or tagline or something. That's pretty great. Oh, now, when you were growing up, did your family kind of support this decision of being a wrestler? Do they like it? Do they hate it? Kind of like with the fiance. What's their perspective of it in the family?
My family, they are supportive of the fact that, they believe I can do what I put my mind to.
Mhm.
But when I was saying, yeah, I want to be a pro wrestler, they're like, yeah, but like naturally what you get. I mean, that's like saying like I want to be in Cirque du Soleil or I want to be on Broadway or
Yeah.
something. But it's like the closer I got, once I started training,
Mhm.
and once I guess you saw me, like my family, my mom, my brother, once they saw me really do it, I
Mhm.
think they got it. And
That's great.
and from then they could not be more supportive.
That's
So
awesome.
I love my family very much and I appreciate them.
Very nice.
But
Very nice.
yeah, it's those personal victories of not of proving
Mhm.
them wrong, but proving yourself right
Yeah.
is a good
Yeah.
way to put it.
And like, them just being behind it regardless of the
Of course.
outcome is awesome to
Right.
hear. Like my dad, I mean, he's big into the race car scene, in the area. He's had a business back where I grew up. So like everyone knew my dad. Like if I got in trouble, my dad found out before I found out. You know what I mean? Like getting pulled over because he cleaned the sheriff cars at his business. They call him and be like, "Hey, I ran into your kid." So my dad calls me. "What did you do, stupid?" It's like, "Oh my goodness!" But and this is where we're a lot alike, is because the beard. He had a beard. When I've never seen him without a beard. His personality when he lets it show is a lot like mine, and it's funny. He's very popular in his scene because everybody knows him as Bulldog, the race guy. And then now it's like when I'm around, I'm going to toot my own horn here for the wrestling. Like everyone's like, "Oh, hey, you're the guy with the sign." Yeah, yeah, that's me. And my dad's like, "The guy with the sign?" I was like, "It's a long story. I'll tell you later." You know what I mean? Like, so it's just kind of funny how my dad thinks he doesn't watch wrestling. He doesn't think it's cool. He thinks it's stupid. But he put me in his car show book that he puts out every month with my logo. I'm sure he's proud of me, but it's just his way of showing it with the old school love. Like, "Oh, that's my kid. Yeah, yeah, he likes wrestling. Don't ask me." You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool. Like to see people get behind our goals and our achievements. Like I said, off camera, like everybody deserves a piece of the pie, and
Right.
it's not just for the Paul brothers to take up all the social media. So it's cool to see people succeed, and I really like watching people hit their goals. And speaking of goals, what are some of your goals going into 2026 here for you?
My goals, it's always nice to go to new places you haven't been
Mhm.
before. I've been in talks with a few places that I'm very excited to do business with, and I've really been getting into the media circuit this
Nice.
year. I've broken into the theater scene. I'm going to be in
Oh,
production
okay.
of Newsies, the Broadway
Nice.
musical, in a couple weeks. So I'm very excited for that. Big role. I've been a stunt coordinator for it. Choreographed a few fight scenes. I play a couple roles. Got some, costume changes, all types of things, and it's been a lot more on my plate than I initially thought. I'll say
Yeah.
that. So I'm definitely ready for it to be behind me and to look back on it as a fond memory, to
Yeah.
say the least. But yeah, doing new things, going places I haven't, wrestling people I haven't yet. Just getting better each match is really
Mhm.
like taking it one week at a time.
Yeah. Is there anybody? I know this is like the cliche question, but like, is there anybody on your bucket list regionally for you that you're kind of excited to, throw hands with?
Well, of course. I mean, there's just local names in your area that have
Mhm.
really cut their teeth and made their names. Like from where I'm at, there's Leslie Leatherman, a TJ Sykes, Vince Vega. These types of cats that I've never had the pleasure of
Mhm.
standing across the ring with. I was able to wrestle the Patriot last year, team with King Kalua, which are two huge names in the
Mhm.
area. Both just, as big of indie names as you could really get. And it's just things like that. Like that it means as much to me as it would to wrestle TV names.
Mhm.
Because, of course those are ones that anybody would love to do.
Oh
I've
yeah,
had
definitely,
I've
definitely.
had the honor of teaming with James Ellsworth and squaring off with Tony Atlas in a battle royal. But that's just as grateful as I am for that. It's all about what's next.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm super proud and grateful of the things I've been able to do so far. But I'm focused and looking forward to all the things that are coming that I'm not aware of yet. And
Mhm.
next time I'm here, hopefully we'll be able to talk about those things that happen in the medium.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I giggled there during Tony Atlas because that man has a laugh that is infectious. I was able to meet him like during the pandemic, and he was just so funny. And I've never done this where I've gotten a photo with a wrestler where I wanted a retake because it was bad. And I walked up to the promoter and I'm like, hey, like, because I know the promoter, I'm gonna name drop. I'm like, Dave, like, I don't mean to be that guy, but like this is the one time where like whoever took the photo must have been drunk. And he's like, don't worry about it. I'll tell Tony. And then Tony's like, you want another picture? You want another picture? Let's do it. And I was like, oh, I thought he was gonna like yell at me. And he just like he did like an open Q&A thing, and his laugh, oh my gosh, he was making fun of the promoter the whole time. And I just, I got respect for Tony, and I got his book back there. I haven't yet read it, but yeah, Tony Atlas seems like a pretty cool dude. So
Oh, Tony Atlas is great. I'll never forget. It really put things into perspective. I remember
mm,
showing up to this show. It was a CPW show at Riverbend Park in Falling Waters, West Virginia.
okay,
Um, Shane Shadows of CPW runs there twice a year, every year, and it was my first time there. And in the car next to me was Tony Atlas, and I was not aware of that at the time. And as always, I go, open the door for my lady, as a gentleman does. I
hmm,
close it behind her, all that, and later on, the winds kick in. It's an outside show,
yeah,
and I will tape my promo pictures down to the table.
oh,
And
okay,
I saw Tony Atlas having trouble with all of that, so I used some of my tape and I taped his stuff down. And he engaged me in conversation. He said, "Oh, I've been in the business for like half a century, and I learned something from this kid today." And I'm like,
yeah,
that's hearing something
yeah,
like that is
yeah,
just it's crazy to think about. And
yeah.
he acknowledged the fact that he saw me hold the door for my
Oh,
fiance.
okay,
And to me, something so small that I do every day,
hmm,
it's like that made him notice me.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that really opened my eyes to the way I carry myself in and out of
yeah.
the ring. And it matters. From the moment you get to a show to the moment you leave, everything matters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a flex, just even though you don't give the
I'll
whole
definitely
story
say
away.
so.
Like, hey, Tony Atlas knows I'm a gentleman, and I taught him something at the wrestling show, and that's like, I got to sit next to Teddy Long at a show because they put his table next to mine, and just to watch him critique everybody made me like, okay, I've got to make sure my things are in a row. I got to live the gimmick, like that persona, because like that's why I kind of, like I said, and being so stiff in the beginning because I'm like a peacock, you got to let me fly, and I'm finally getting that personality out. And just to watch him critique that on wrestlers is like, oh, I have to have that mindset with my podcast too. And then he came over to our table, and he kept stealing candy from our table, which my wife was the one that picked out the chocolate and the Tootsie Pops, and he was loving it because he was using this pen, a magic pen or something. I don't know what it was. And he kept going, "Hey, you got any more of that chocolate, kid?" And I was like, "Yeah, take the whole fucking bag, man. Like, this is great." And then as we're leaving, he's like, "Hey, man, good luck out there. See you later, playa." And I was like, "Oh my God, he called me playa. Oh my gosh," because he always said it on TV, and I lost my shit. I thought that was my most epic wrestling story of all time.
That was my peak.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's one story I love to bust out, just hanging out with Teddy Long all night. I had to help him try to find the bathroom. All the locker rooms were locked. Luckily, the ring announcer came over and helped him to the one area that was unlocked for them. But such a great little small thing, like you mentioned, that just carries so much weight as a fan. And then before we wrap it up here, I got some hard-hitting questions for you. But what is it that you really want to achieve in 2026? Like, is it like going to Maine to wrestle down in Florida? What's that one big item here? And then we'll get all your social media stuff, and then I'll hit you with another hard-hitting question. But what's that one big thing you want to cross off that list for 2026?
I'd love to go on a trip over 10 hours.
Okay.
The farthest I've wrestled One Direction is 5.5, about to be 6. I will be making my Michigan debut in a few months in May. I'll be talking more in detail about that closer.
Perfect.
But yeah, there's people I'm very close with. A big mentor of mine, Professor Jacob Edwin, makes trip to Tennessee. I'm hoping to, be a part of that, go cross another state off the list, go to a historic place like Pro Wrestling Mid-South in Dyersburg, Ripley. Great show. They run every week. And it's something, it's just things like that, just getting my name out farther than is trying to be more than a local name is really the goal by the end of the year. I want to be able to debut at a place a few states away, and people will be like, "Oh, I know who that is. I'm excited to see that." It's just steady growth is the goal.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Where can they find you on social media if you have it? Here's your time to plug, and then we'll hit you with that hard-hitting question and get you out of here for the day.
You can find the most Dean Mosley at Thunder Road on YouTube with 1 R in the middle, because who's got time for 2? Dean Mosley on Facebook and Instagram, Dean Mosley Pro. I am currently working on making a website for all things Dean Mosley with my proud honorary members of the Thunder Road, like the Friends of the Square Circle today. And, all things Dean Mosley in the present, past, and future, you'll be able to find there. But until then, as listed before, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. And make sure you send that stuff to us off camera, and we'll make sure to share it on our page. Now, here is that hard-hitting question. I want you to name 3. We won't go too far into it, but who has, besides yourself, sir, the best hair in pro wrestling? Give me 3 of them.
How dare you ask me this?
Male and female,
Number 2
they can obviously be below your standard, but who has some really good hair in wrestling? They're not better than you, of course. But who are 3 that have some beautiful hair there in pro wrestling? Just give us 3 here.
Of course, my right-hand man, Cool Breeze Crane. He has the best hair in the state of West Virginia, other than the most. Someone I've never met, but Harley Hudson is a female wrestler.
Okay.
She's got cool hair going on. I respect it. And, oh, wow. Ooh. You're really getting me here with this one.
Yeah, I know. Hard-hitting questions here at Friends of the Square Circle, folks.
Jermaine Marbury. I respect the afro.
Okay.
The point guard of pro wrestling. I like him.
Perfect. All right, folks. If you want to be just like Dean and be on your own episode of Friends of the Squared Circle, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We don't really use the X, so we don't talk about it too much, as well as check out our sponsors down below of Inside Out Nutrition, where you can get healthy teas, healthy shakes, and healthy donuts. Yes, folks, you heard that right. Healthy donuts. I tell you what, as well as superior creations for all your custom tumbler needs. And stay tuned. We are going to be starting giving some of those out and selling those at future events now, because they were so high demand. We just want to remind folks here that Crander Q, me, is the number one beard in all pro wrestling, self-proclaimed, of course. But unlike the most, he has the most beautiful hair. And don't forget to check out our sister channels here, Wrestling with Pride, the main event with Meg Lavelle, also us, Friends of the Squared Circle, blah, 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 and Bell to Bell with Amanda Monroe, where they dive into pro wrestling, the female side as well as the LGBTQ side. And last but not least, you know what? We're going to show you a great video here, Dean, before you go. Check this out. We're going to close it out with a little bit of a harsh reality of why I'm the number one beard in pro wrestling.
To this beautiful prize. Are you ready, Jay Rich?
Am I getting this prize?
No, because it's for me.
Oh,
Read it out loud.
the number one beard in pro wrestling podcast, self-proclaimed. Yeah, it is self-proclaimed.
Look at that. I got an award for the best beard in wrestling podcast. Leroy ain't got no award.
Yeah, because he did it to himself.
Doesn't matter how you get the award, right? Am I right? Am I right? That's right.
Wow.
It's your boy, Crander Q out.
That's right.
I mean-
Number one beard.
I see an award, so I don't. You can't argue.
Thank you.
there's a
Thank you.
flag.
That's
He
right.
receives
It
a
was
flag,
huge.
ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. All right. Thank you, Dean, for coming on this episode of Friends of the Squared Circle. And like you heard in the video, it is your boy, Crander Q. Crander Q out. Here comes the awkward part of trying to turn this off. There we go.